Why do transgenders continue to kill people? That's the question we address in the DML report. Yesterday in Rhode Island at an arena called the Dennis M. Lynch Arena, no association to me or my family, a man who thought he was a woman went in and shot up the place.
Now that we have identified the person, the suspect, by a birth name, the birth name was Robert Dorgan. We have also learned that the person does go by the name of Roberta, also uses a last name of Esposito.
So here we are, another transgender event, the second of the week, where people die for no reason.
It appears that a lone individual, the suspect, entered the arena to watch the hockey game of a family member, and unfortunately during that time a shooting occurred. We have confirmed that the suspect is now deceased. Also, there are 2 victims that have also been confirmed deceased, and then we have 3 victims that are still at the hospital in critical condition.
Allegedly, a woman who says she's the daughter of the guy, she said what the problem was.
He's dead now. What was the reasoning? Was there a family argument? He has mental health issues. So.
Perfectly stated. This is a mental health issue. It's not a gun issue. The left is going to try to tell us it's about the guns. But in the 20 years that I have been in the news business, never one time has a report ever been that a gun picked itself up off the floor or off a table or out of a gun case and randomly shot people for no reason. This is happening time and time again because we have a mental health issue in the United States that the left is trying to pawn off as some sort of dysphoria. It has nothing to do with that. In fact, I believe this has everything to do with medicating our youngsters and our young adults to the point of where they no longer can operate in society. Let me give you some numbers to prove this. Before COVID-19 hit, in 2016, there was an estimated 1.4 million transgenders. Now that number alone seems kind of whacked out high, right? But now take a look at 2025. A UCLA School of Law study estimated 2.8 million people who are 13 years old and up identify as transgender. That makes 1% of the US population. 33% of them transgender women, 34% of them transgender men, and 33% transgender non-binary, whatever that is. How the hell did we go up so high? How did we double this number in a very short period of time for something that makes no sense and that the left is going to try to tell you that it is an actual dysphoria? Gender dysphoria has never in our lifetime doubled from 1.4 to 2.8. There's got to be a link, and this show has it. Antidepressants in kids, freaking drugging our kids, has surged by 64% from the time that COVID began in 2020. Antidepressants are linked to a 30% increase in anxiety and depression in kids. Are you starting to see the correlation? In 2022, 5% of ages 20 to 25 years old received antidepressant prescriptions. 5%. Do you remember being a kid? Nobody was on an antidepressant when we were kids. You know what you were told? Go outside and play. But the kids don't want to play with me. Get new friends. Now what do? We're popping them a drug. We're screwing up their heads. SSRI use for ages 3 to 17 rose from 1.5% to 3.6% of all kids between 2006 and 2023. This has become the norm. We're literally just drugging our kids into mental health issues. I go back. We never had this when I was growing up, ever. You normalize it, and then it starts to become part of society. I'll give you an example. We actually have a member of Congress right now, Representative Sarah McBride, who's a dude, a Democrat out of Delaware. We're normalizing it at the state level as well. There are now roughly 15 transgender state legislatures across the US. How is it that we're allowing people with mental disorders making laws? Do you see where this is going? It just continues to get worse. And the media is 100% behind this nonsense. And I don't think Republicans are doing enough about it. You've got to nip this in the bud now, or it's only going to get worse. I'm telling you the one thing I've always learned, you have to follow the money. If you strip the money from this industry, the stuff starts to end. So let me give you some numbers to prove what I'm talking about. Gender-affirming care and transgender surgeries are benefiting many different entities. You got the surgeons in the hospitals, pharma companies, the big pharma, and healthcare providers. In 2022, the US market for transgender surgeries was $4 billion. $4 billion. And they say that by 2030, it's going to be nearly $8 billion. Again, we're going to double. Why are we going up? If we cut that money off, the numbers will plummet. 25 to 35% of transgenders right now in the United States have had some sort of transgender changing surgery. Think about that. That's about a third of people. What did we? That's about 1 million people. On average, the amount of money this costs to be a female and try to transition into a male, between $20,000 to $40,000. And if you're going to go for the full transition, $135,000. If you're going to go to male to female, on average, anywhere between $20,000 to $50,000. And if you're going to go fully, it's $150,000. It's nuts. Congress has got to make it completely illegal across the country to do any sort of transgender surgery. Not only will we save innocent lives like the people who were just shot dead at the Dennis M. Lynch arena in Rhode Island, but the transgenders themselves, these people do not want to be doing this. 81% of transgender adults in the US have considered suicide. Think about that. That's 4 out of every 5. 42% have actually attempted the suicide. And then when it comes to people who say, oh my goodness, I made such a mistake. Why did I do this? About 10% in different surveys say that once a transgender is now changed, they want to go back to what they were. It's a very sad thing. And we have nobody to blame but ourselves because we're not pushing lawmakers to make legislation that strips the money from this industry and cracks down on the states. We've got liberal states that are actually making this ability to transgenderize our kids normal. In California, schools are prohibited from telling parents about a student's gender without the child's consent. The state of Maine, same thing. Can you imagine your kid going into school, telling the teacher, I want to go from being Dennis to Denise, and nobody is calling me on the phone? But if my kid doesn't have their homework done, then I get the phone call. Or if the kid wants to go out and protest against ICE, I'm going to get the notification that it's going to happen. But if my kid wants to go through a surgery that could actually force them into committing suicide, I'm not told. In the state of Washington, they allow youth shelters to house runaway transgender minors without notifying the parents. We're going crazy trying to find an 84-year-old Miss Guthrie, but when it comes to a kid that's disappearing because they want to become transgenders, we're not going to let you know about it. And then the freaking horrible state of Minnesota where fraud runs wild, it is actually classified as a sanctuary state for transgenders. So I go back to Robert, who's no longer with us, who started to think he was Roberta. Let me just be very clear about something. Men can't have babies. Women have breasts. Men have a penis, and girls have a vagina. It is the most simplest, easy to understand life's lessons that there are. Everybody knows it. You don't have to be able to write, read, or do math. Everybody knows who Adam and who's Eve. And yet, for the sake of money, for the sake of liberal ideology, to try to ruin the United States of America, we have people around the world trying to push this stuff on our kids, whether it's videos on TikTok, whether it's the push about normalizing this in our school system. It has got to stop. The Robertas of the world do not exist, only in their mentally bruised brain. We have to cut off these medications. We have to cut off the money. And that's how we save our kids from becoming the next casualty, either as a transgender themselves or a victim to somebody who thinks they're Roberta. I ask you please to share this video. You don't hear these statistics anywhere else. Nobody addresses this problem for the way it needs to be. They give you 2 minutes of nonsense and then they move on to the next story. I can't think of a more important 10 minutes in anybody else's life today. Nobody ever thinks it's going to happen to them. Trust me when I tell you, you very easily could be the next person who's victimized by one of these very troubled people. The United States can do better than this. You and I, and even the transgenders, deserve better than this. We are the #1 country in the world, and yet we're acting as if we can't find our ass with both hands. This is today's DML report. I hope you'll share it. Until the next time, God bless.